I've got a couple who say refugees and asylum seekers don't deserve to be here. We tell them everyone deserves to be here. It says in the international law, which Australia is a signatory. It doesn't matter whether you come to Australia with papers or you flew. It doesn't matter, everyone have a right.
It's really important that the people should know the reality of asylum seeker situation.
I don't think people realise the onerous situation that people who arrive by boat are in.
If they just put themselves as a refugee, as asylum seeker for just 1 minute, what they are going to do.
The Refugee Camp in My Neighbourhood project was an hour tour through a simulated refugee camp designed to give visitors a deeper understanding of the refugee journey.
Auburn has a high population of people who are from refugee and asylum seeker backgrounds. About 27% of the Auburn population has arrived in Australia in the past 5 years.
We have about 27,000 people in Australia currently who came by boat prior to the 19th of July 2013 who are being punished for daring to seek asylum in Australia.
There were multiple aims. The first was really providing a chance for all the community members to share their stories, to engage about refugee issues, to educate and also to celebrate the contributions of refugees. This project was really about collaboration and partnerships. We wanted to make sure that the voices were of the refugee communities, and we couldn't do that alone as council.
Auburn Council brought the idea to communities, we developing idea how can neighbourhood projects look like. We summarize all idea and developing project to the end.
We, along with other organisations, were invited to start inputting and coming up with ideas of how the refugee camp project might work.
We had consultations with people from Afghanistan, from Bosnia, from various parts of Africa.
Every week, every month, every year.
We wanted the project to highlight the real experiences of refugees and asylum seekers. That's why we decided to recruit tour guides from refugee and asylum seeker backgrounds.
We recruited 42 tour guides from about 20 different countries in total, and they spoke about 22 different languages. You go on a tour and your tour guide could be from Afghanistan and from China, and you would hear 2 different journeys to Australia.
I have been in Indonesia for more than 3 years, and I spent 1 year and a half in detention, and the other I spent in the refugee camp.
We asked refugee and asylum seeker community members to help us design the camp. What should the camp look like? What are the most important parts of the refugee journey? And most importantly, what they wanted visitors to know about the experience.
Every day you can find a discussion, speaking, everything in the news about asylum seeker. Many Australian people don't know actually the reality of asylum seeker and a refugee.
We also use these experiences to create 4 characters, and each person who took a tour would follow the journey of this character.
My name is Sahir. I'm 17 from Afghanistan. I belong to a Hazara family. Hazara is an ethnic minority group persecuted because of our race and religion. When I was 14, my father, a doctor, was taken by the Taliban. A year later, they killed my brother when they found his university student card.
One of the characters that people were following the journey of was an asylum seeker. When taking people on the tour, at the end he would say, "That's me." And people would just break into tears. You see the connection that the tour participants had with him, and they want to do something.
It was a fantastic opportunity for Australian citizens to show them how it was hard life for refugees to come to Australia.
I find out when I was guiding people that many people don't know really who is a refugee and why they are seeking asylum. It's really important that the people should know the reality.
We received 78 applications. It was overwhelming, and that to me just shows that there's so many people passionate about refugee issues. There's so much misconception and stereotypes that they wanted to be part of a project that raised awareness and educated people. And the second, it also highlighted the many barriers that people who are from refugees backgrounds have when it comes to seeking employment.
Imagine that a refugee who don't know and can't speak English, how they communicate, how they fit themselves in a new country.
You can imagine how it's hard when your neighbor is greeting you and you are not responding to him or to her.
For many, it was first time speaking with people about their personal experience, because this role was more than just a job.
It was incredibly beneficial for the tour guides. You could see them talking about the skills they'd learned, and it was so nice for them to do something positive.
We tried to, I guess, debunk those refugees myths that people have. For them to come through these 8 stops, you know, to notice what life is like to live in a refugee camp. And I guess try and change people's perspective.
The first stop was presenting facts about which countries refugees are coming from and which countries refugees are accepted in. And then you make your way outside and you're entering a refugee camp.
Each country's refugee is different, but what they've done is real good. Anything that you see here, exact replica of what you see. Exactly, it doesn't smell as badly as the ones out there.
At the entry of the camp, there's daily life, which looks at housing items, and there's a medical tent. People started crying when they got to the toilets. For many people, they said that really struck them because they never had thought about it before.
When we had that event, it touched some people who have never been in the refugees camp before. Even some were crying, but their tears actually touched me. And their tears remind me the situation that I and my family were passed through. It shows that these people have love when bad things happen to others.
We had a tent for UNHCR, and we actually had someone playing a UNHCR officer. That person would be speaking in their native tongue.
در هفته یک روز از روز چهارشنبه ساعت 12 تا به 2 راه.
We gave some statistics about how long it takes for someone to be resettled in another country and the challenges that people face when they do that.
That has been one of the main ones that we're getting, that people don't deserve you. People purposely destroy the document on the way just to get here.
The last stop on the tour, we called it Restoring Hope. And in that room we had volunteer community organisations, we had services, and we had a message wall where people could put a message to refugees and asylum seekers. We had, I think, over 400 post-it notes by the end of the week, and they were beautiful messages. You know, there was one message from a high school student who said, "I will not be so selfish anymore." Another one who said, "I can't believe how strong you are."
We were so surprised that despite all the negative press, that people really cared, and I think that was a really important thing for them. It's also important for us to remember that there's people out there that do care.
The response was overwhelmingly positive. 142 tours were held during that week. We had over 200 people go on a tour. You could see the change in attitudes by the end of the tour. They understood how difficult it was. They were in awe of the resilience, and they wanted to somehow contribute. They wanted to somehow connect and assist.
People who were visiting this neighbourhood project, I think mostly they will be completely different about refugees.
I think there was so much compassion and admiration.
The first thing that I have enjoyed when I was a tour guide, I met with people I have never met them before. Even when I explained the objects to them, some start crying. And I used to tell them, don't cry, this is a situation. The most important for you to do, respect these people. If you have seen the situation that they have passed through, invite them and let them be part of you.
For many of the tour guides, the people who they took on tours wrote messages personally to them. They came back to speak to them at the welcome lunch. They connected to that human level, and that was so important, that no matter how difficult things are, there's a group of people out there who don't even know you, but they care about you and want to give you hope.
I just really hope that other councils replicate this amazing project, because it's a real conversation changer.
For us as council, it really was a project for the Auburn community. It allowed people who are from refugee backgrounds and who are asylum seekers for their voices to be heard, and we hope that it reflected the true experience and that people now have a better understanding of what your lives really were like.